Mark Malone from NBC Sports Radio here to chat with us about the NFL, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen at NBCSportsRadio.com. Welcome back, Mark. How you been?
I'm terrific. How about yourself?
We're doing good, and I know Eagle fans are ready to hit the panic button. 3-4 coming off the Super Bowl. They got to go to London. They're facing a team that they're basically looking at the mirror at here. Both of these teams really struggling after some success last year. Let me ask you, when you look at these two, one Super Bowl champion, the other team made the AFC Championship game, what struggles do you see that have become an alarming trend for these two?
Well, I mean, when you look at the Eagles in particular, I'm a little concerned with the fact that Carson Wentz, who I think is starting to get a little bit better every week, has now missed some practices with a back. And you ask yourself, is that just a back ailment, which can be tricky from time to time, or is that something that is related to him favoring the knee that he had repaired in the offseason? So I'm a little concerned about that. Listen, you have a 17-point lead against Carolina in the fourth quarter, and you blow that lead. I saw Jim Schwartz make some comments this week about, well, it's just a play here and it's a play there, and in the past we've been able to make that up. I'm thinking, well, in the NFL, that's the difference between finishing mid-pack in a division and winning a Super Bowl. It's that close. So they've got some issues. Particularly on the offensive line. I know Jason Peters is missing practice time. He's playing with a torn biceps, and Lane Johnson's got the high ankle sprain, and they're still looking for some continuity on the offensive side of the football. But right now, this is a game that I think might define their season. I mean, I think you got to find a way to make sure that you get a win out of this thing and hopefully get a couple of people healthy and start moving in the right direction.
What do you make of Peterson's comments basically saying the pressure's off of us? Nobody out there is looking at us anymore after last year, saying this is the new norm. They seem to embrace the pressure after they won the Super Bowl. Now they don't want it.
Yeah, I should have checked to see if he has a minor in psychology or something. Obviously, he's talking to his team, when he says those kinds of things. The pressure is on. This is a production business, and it's not about what you did last year. It's what have you done for me lately. And so I understand what he's trying to do, kind of paint a picture because, listen, I'm sure he's saying those things in the meeting, and he wants to make sure that he's consistent when he talks to the media as well. So, he's trying to take some pressure off of his football team. But the bottom line is you're going to be judged by wins. And if they continue to, go up and down and finish mid-pack in what is this year not a particularly strong division, in my opinion, then all of a sudden people are going to, go up in arms, especially that fan base. Howie Roseman has done a terrific job at Philadelphia, and I love Doug. I think Doug did a terrific job last year winning the Super Bowl. But, again, that was last year, and this is this year.
Mark Malone, NBC Sports Radio, former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. Let me ask you, Mark, the trade deadline. Back in the day, you would never talk about the trade deadline. It was almost like not even a possibility. We've already seen a bunch of trades. Is that a realistic way to help at this stage of the season?
Well, it can be. I mean, they moved the trade deadline back here most recently, and now I think what happens is if you look at Oakland and you look at the Giants, they're 1-6. They're not going anywhere this year. So you start figuring out, okay, how can we start to build for the future and get some draft assets to help fill in the pieces and fill out this roster. Meanwhile, for instance, if you're the Lions, you're like, we're 30th in run defense. We've got to find a way to get better in a division that nobody's running away with. The Vikings have been up and down this year as well. So let's go ahead and pull the trigger on a deal, and we can improve our run defense. The trade deadline's the end of the month. I would not be surprised at all, Mike, if we see a handful of other guys traded before this thing's over.
Last one from Mark Malone here inside the NFC East. You got the Redskins at the top. They beat the Cowboys last week. They're 4-2 right now. So do we like Washington for the long? They play the Giants twice, too, so they got a pretty good feeling moving forward here.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more consistency out of the offense. I love Alex Smith. I've always been a big fan of his, despite people saying he's a game manager and he'll never win a Super Bowl. I've been a little bit surprised at the production from a guy like Adrian Peterson, given his age, but I'm sure they're going to run him and grind him out as much as he can give this year. The defense has got to get a little bit better, but I like the Redskins in this football game this week. And like I said, nobody's going to run away with that division. Philadelphia's been up and down. Dallas, I think, is a 500 team. The Giants are already out of this thing. So all of a sudden, the Redskins look like they're sitting in a pretty nice little place.
They play the Giants this week. Dallas has the bye. Philly's in London. Mark Malone, by the way, last week you said you liked the Chargers as that next team in the AFC. They make you look good as well. That AFC race looks alike. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll talk with Mark Malone down the line as the NFL season continues tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. Always a pleasure, Mark. Thanks so much.
Mike, my pleasure. Enjoy the football this week, my friend.